he's been over backwards for him, and for them to go to another dealership, Chevrolet dealership, after he has given that stadium and students cars and money and everything. That's the loyalty there. And I'm not taking sides here for anybody. I'm just an average guy that videotapes. And when I seen this on the check register, which was passed by the school board. Now they're going to say, oh, they didn't see it, they didn't see it. But this is something the average Joe saw. And for them to go to Vanderveer, another Chevrolet dealership, is ridiculous. So if you guys want a copy of this, if it's going to change your mind or if it's going to do anything, this is what our city, our school district, gentlemen gave. If someone's going to put $15,000 into my backyard, I don't care if it's $100,000. You better believe I'm going to buy a car off this guy. And for them to go to Vanderveer and buy a brand new car, this is September 23rd they bought this, of this year. Last year, they just did this because I videotaped it, the presentation for him naming the stadium field in Bromhoff Harbor to him. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Mark Riley. I live at 1961 Thorndale Avenue in Stow. And despite the fact we're pushing the legislation back to December, we still want to make a statement about the zoning. I'm going to begin a statement with the same thing I said to this council a year and a half ago. When my wife and I, Mary, decided to fight this and to go against, at that time, the proposal, and now this zoning change, I told you that we weren't just doing it for us. It wasn't about Mark and Mary Riley. We recognized right off the bat that this was about the entire neighborhood. So when we decided to fight this proposal and now this rezoning, we were doing it and we were fighting for our entire neighborhood. We were fighting for Bud and Terry, Joe and Ellen, Dave and Carol, Allie and Doug, Dave and Tanika, and now Evan and Chad. And now I feel as a group, as a collective group, we are actually fighting not just for our neighborhood, but for all neighborhoods. Because this zoning change threatens the very reason zoning is put in the first place, is to stop things like this from happening. And this small group of citizens has remained resolute in trying to defeat this. And let me tell you something about these people behind me. They're characters. You know what else they are? They are incredibly courageous people. And I believe that they're courageous people because I think that courage is not going into a difficult situation with absolute confidence you're going to win, or absolute confidence in things are going to go in your favor. I don't think that's courage at all. I think it's arrogance and stupidity. What courage is, in my opinion, is going into a situation, a difficult situation, or impossible situation, with fear and with doubt, but doing it anyway, because that's the right thing to do. And that's what these people have done for the last year and a half. They have fought a battle against an adversary that has a lot more influence, a lot more power, and a heck of a lot more money. And they've done it with fear, with doubt, and no assurance of the outcome. But they did it because it was the right thing to do. And I would ask you to not forget that, not forget the courage they demonstrated. And also, the second thing I would ask is for you to emulate them. When it comes time to vote, do the right thing, do the courageous thing, and vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Eric Rinaldo. I'm a resident of 3433 Margaret Avenue. I have a prepared statement regarding the rezoning measure on Thorndale Avenue. I am a resident of the Hollywood allotment, which includes Thorndale Avenue, and I am against this rezoning request. I believe that if Thorndale Avenue were a development of $200,000 homes, we aren't here voting on this measure. I believe that if this rezoning request is occurring on Progress Park, or Red Wing, or Call, or Adeline, we aren't debating it still 18 months later. I believe the city's administration views Thorndale Avenue as nothing more than an expendable token, a forgettable cost of business. I believe that if it were a council member or a mayor who are under threat of every morning having to wait to a view out their bedroom or kitchen or living room window of fluttering sales banners, security light stanchions, and the otherwise sterile commercial landscape of an auto dealership, this issue would be dead. And for all that we have been told about how wonderful it will be, this amazing new facility, I've yet to have a single person offer to buy my home because of its great proximity to Marhofer Chevrolet. The reality here is that nobody wants to live next to an auto dealership, not even Mr. Marhofer. Yet you are being asked to exacerbate an already undesirable condition by permitting the demolition of 3 perfectly viable homes, complete with lawns and lush, mature greenery, and replacing them with a parking lot. How cliche. To allow this measure to pass, to entertain this rezoning request to any extent, would be a miscarriage of civic responsibility and negligence on the part of this council in protecting the residents of Thorndale Avenue and any other resident of Stow who should find themselves in the unfortunate happenstance of abutting a commercial property in this city. This council has been sworn by oath and entrusted to protect the residents of Stow from this exact sort of commercial land grab and perverted interpretation of this city's charter and comprehensive plan. Fortunately, this city council has the tools necessary to provide that protection in the form of Stow's codified ordinances and zoning laws. These legal elements were put in place and enacted to protect this and every neighborhood throughout the city from this manner of assault on the character and culture that have long defined the residential communities of Stow and made this city a desirable, comfortable, and safe place to live. This council ought to start enforcing our zoning laws instead of altering them at the whim of commercial interests. Beyond the many unknowns that still remain and apparently will never be addressed regarding this rezoning request, one question that will be sure to be answered at the time of the vote is whether Stow will remain a family-friendly residential stronghold or continue its march toward becoming just another municipality kowtowing to any commercial entity at any cost to maintain a corporate tax base. The rendering of this vote will reveal where this council's allegiance lies. Thank you.
If you could give a copy of that to the clerk, she'll be more than happy to include it as part of the record. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Allison Burley, 1969 Thorndale. First of all, I'm kind of disappointed that we have to drag this out another 2 weeks, but my only comment is regarding something that the mayor just said, that she's here to not break promises to the citizens. If you vote yes for this, you're breaking your zoning code, your comprehensive plan, you are breaking the promises to the citizens. Your duty is to vote no for this.
Yes, sir.
I was told that that we could request that there be a vote tonight, that you would consider that. Is that a possibility?
My opinion, no.
Everybody needs to be here.
Everybody has to be here.
Okay. All right. Well, then I have a couple things I'd like to say.
Okay.
Okay? I've said this before, after some of the comments that have been made, I think anyone. Hearing me? Okay. Okay. After some of the comments that were made, I just think it needs repeated. No business should be shown preferential treatment just because of monetary contributions to the community. Mr. Marhofer's generosity has been duly noted. No one is arguing the fact he is a respected businessman, but this does not give entitlement to special consideration from the city. Mr. Marhofer's reward should be the satisfaction that occurs from giving the gifts and knowing they will help in perpetuating the very excellent Stow environment that has been so good to him. Benevolence becomes self-serving when something is expected in return. As a lifelong resident of Stow, I would like to ask you, who do we turn to for the protection of our property and our rights as residents of this community? We are, as a city, deviating from the comprehensive plan and changing existing zoning codes at the request of businesses without including any of the protections that were in existence for neighboring properties. How do we as residents protect ourselves from this? If I came to you and said I wanted the road in front of my house vacated because I have outgrown what I have and need a larger space, you would laugh me out of the room and tell me to move somewhere that fits my needs. In the November 3rd issue of the Stow Sentry, incumbent John Prebonic stated, "Development of the northwest quadrant while not compromising existing residential areas is important. Why, may I ask, are you considering protecting those neighborhoods but not ours?" In closing, quoting Mr. Kohlmeyer, a member of the Planning Commission from the May 22nd, 2012 meeting, "I think the residents here have a legitimate concern about their property values. I would like to see Mohofer thrive in Stow, but have a real problem with rezoning existing residential neighborhoods and encroaching into the neighborhood more. I think that is problematic. I think people who live in a certain neighborhood have a right to certain expectations when you buy your property. If your value is being diminished, I think that is a legitimate concern." And again, that was quoted from Mr. Kohlmeyer. "I am appealing to your compassion and sense of family. This rezoning will change the very character of this child-safe, family-friendly neighborhood and the desire to live here forever. I do not want to forever regret my decision to make my starter home my lifelong home. Nor do I want to regret the decision to live in Stow. I hope to live the rest of my life feeling I live in a community that cares about its people." Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll jump back to where we should have been. Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. I have no report this evening. I'll entertain any questions the council may have.
Any questions, Mr. Barron? Mr. Reale.
Thank you. No report this evening, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Reale? And I know Mr. Earl, I didn't call on you, because Mr. Barron didn't know, so no, we won't have it.
That is correct. I have no report, sir.
Mr. Wren.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Leaf pickup is in its fourth week of operation. We're about 90% complete with our second round through District 1. We anticipate beginning District 2 tomorrow to jump on the short week that follows. After Thanksgiving, we will begin our final week of leaf pickup, finishing up District 2 if needed and completing District 3. As of Tuesday, we have picked up about 319 loads, which to that exact same day last year is about 50% of where we were last year. Obviously, the leaves didn't want to come down the first couple weeks, so we spent the first 2 weeks pile jumping basically and hitting the larger tree areas where the leaves tend to pile up more. So we anticipate that we will have to, we'll be picking up about another 300 loads in the next 2.5 weeks. We will only go, that first week of December will be our last week with our seasonal employees. We get to the point where we've not hit all the districts twice. We will staff 1 or 2 trucks with full-timers to finish out the leave program. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Wren? Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. I do not have a report, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. McClure?
Yeah, Jim, we brought this up before, timing, Graham Road going across Route 8. And the lanes heading to Hudson Drive. I personally seen one person turn head on into oncoming traffic because those lanes just aren't marked very clearly. When do we expect to be able to at least put temporary striping or something there?
Okay, I talked to Caldwell Falls is putting a water line in, and we've been waiting for them to complete. They are going to have all the barrels removed during the week of Thanksgiving, but the actual water line completion and acceptance isn't until the second week in December. At that time, I know we want to get the striping crew out of there, and that's something that is debatable if they'll be able to be there. It all depends on weather.
And we also have the JD striping out to do the area that we can control at this point. Obviously, we can't go on that construction zone. the way it is now, but Jim's correct, it's gonna be an issue. We can still, we still have money left on that contract, be able to get them in, but it's gonna depend on how soon Cabot Falls can get it freed up from the weather.
There's nothing we can do temporarily.
Next week, they are gonna remove the barrels. Now, the problem is, next week, I don't believe there's a day above 36.
And primarily, I guess what I'm looking at, not only that, but the area where they have completed from the off-ramp coming south to Hudson Drive in that area. I think it's complete in that area.
No, not correct. No, it's not completed yet.
So they still have.
The water line is not completed. Cub Falls received many calls this week, and we were able to get them to put a policeman out at the intersection of State Route 8 off-ramp southbound in the entrance into Red Lobster to continue moving the traffic through that really tight area. We are working with Cub Falls to get them to finish as quickly as possible.
I appreciate it.
In addition, they did have a company out today to work on the traffic control cabin in that area, and we did send a signal tech to monitor it.
Thank you.
I will jump back again. Ms. Bettner, committee report.
Committee reports. Yes, planning committee did meet this evening. We discussed 2 items, and we have, actually, no, we have 3 items that we will bring up in legislation.
Any questions for Ms. Bettner? Mr. Provano?
Yes, public improvements meeting this evening, we had 2 actual presentations, one on what each was yearly review, and also 2, we had actual presentation on tree canopies and how it saves us money as far as water retention and so forth. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Provano? Mr. Rizzo?
Thank you, Mr. President. I held a Roads and Safety Committee meeting in these chambers about an hour ago. We had one item of legislative form which we amended, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions.
Any questions for Mr. Rizzo? I'm going to save the best for last.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. President. Finance met tonight in these chambers. We have 2 items under new business, form of motions, and we have 12 legislative items. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Committee of the whole met this evening also. We have 3 legislative items. We have 2 motions. And we had a public hearing on Monday regarding the offer of reason. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Seeing none. Mr. Real, let's start with the business.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to allocate $25,000 to the Stow Community Improvement Corporation.
So moved. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, the motion is passed.
Mr. President, I move to authorize the hiring of seasonal personnel for 2014.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed say no. That motion is passed. I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Antonio. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Those opposed say no. And absent has been excused. I'd like to make a motion to promote 2 captains and 2 lieutenants in the fire department as necessary.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Rizzo?
Based on our discussion in committee of the whole, are you emphasizing as necessary to mean it won't go into effect if we don't hire the additional 4 firefighters?
I'm saying as necessary because all of those people have not retired yet, resigned yet, left yet. So positions are still full at this point. But as they depart for whatever reason,
Sure.
then they have the authority to go ahead.
Yeah, I just request that we hold this till December, not because I don't support, or I frankly haven't gotten a chance to review the information that I need to review to make a decision. And that's kind of the downside of having our committee meetings and our council meetings on the same night. And this is a big decision. We can't unring the bell of hiring for firefighters. We just went through about a 6-month stretch where all we heard was we need more police officers. And now we're switching gears and saying firefighters. So not to say that I oppose it, but I need more information. So I appreciate if I'm going to vote no if there's a motion, but I appreciate just holding it.
Still have
Yeah, I would like to reiterate Mr. Razor's comments. I don't think this has been an indication that we wouldn't ultimately do it, but we're talking about doing budget talks early so we can look at finances. We've got several issues that probably need to all kind of coincide. I don't know that this was something, if it didn't happen in the next 2 weeks or a month, it's going to be devastating to our force.
I have a question actually I would like to ask Mr. Caldwell is, this was about the promotions of 2 captains and 2 lieutenants. Are these promotions from employees that we already have? These would be the promotions of existing
We have
employees.
4 people leaving. 1 captain left. His last day was yesterday. Within the next, say, 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have them leaving regularly. They would not be filled until they're off the payroll and, the appropriate time to fill them.
But what I'm asking is the promotions of 2 captains and 2 lieutenants are not new hires.
No,
They're brought within our ranks.
They're replacements.
So these can actually be 2 separate.
I intended to be that way, but that's not what you guys want to vote on. I will say that if we don't promote going through Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, there is going to be some expense with overtime, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, so the promotions could occur without the hiring of the 4 new officers in tandem at the same time.
True. I mean, we're still going to need 4 people. We actually need 6, but we need 4 to replace the ones that are leaving.
I just wanted to check in, for overtime.
Yeah, they're independent of each other.
So what you're saying, Chief, is we could do promotions tonight, let's say, and hold hiring 4 or 5 members.
Whatever you guys decide to do. I need them all, but it could be done either way you want to do it.
My concern would be that if we make the promotions, we might be painting ourselves into a corner where we then are so short-staffed at the firefighter level that we kind of have to do it. So it seems that they are, as the chief, I don't disagree, they are independent, but sure would be great to decide this as a package.
My only comment on that would be, it's about $1,500 a year to do the promotions, which eventually are going to have to be done anyway. It's about $1,500 a day for every day that we have to replace them on overtime because we have to pay 3 shifts around the clock. However you guys want to do it, it's fine with me. I'll have to have somebody in those positions, whether they're on overtime or whether they're promoted.
Just a few points. We know in the operations that we have to staff 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. When we go down in staff, the city's overtime costs inevitably increase. We can look to a lot of examples where it has been a cost savings in those departments to have enough people to fill shifts with people at their regular rate as opposed to the overtime rate. So whatever council decides, obviously, is your decision, but I do want to remind all of you that overtime costs will rise if we don't fill positions because we do have to staff shifts. We have needs in the fire department. That does not negate the needs in other departments, and the needs in other departments do not swap out what the fire department is facing. Obviously, we have a lot of budgetary constraints and challenges. We all are aware of that, and certainly need to talk about a lot of different solutions. But not hiring in in the fire department doesn't solve problems in another department and could potentially increase our costs because of those overtime costs that the city may incur.
Go ahead, Chief.
I don't have a problem waiting until December, just so you understand, those vacancies will be filled with, and I have to have somebody in those spots, so they will be filled with overtime until we can make a decision. You know, it's not gonna be every day, but there will be some overtime shifts between now and the end of the year, which would potentially pay for the whole year. I mean,
My question to you is currently we have one captain, correct?
just one right now, correct?
And within the next 2 weeks, in other words, by December 12th, would we have?
I don't anticipate another one before December 12th.
Okay.
We're looking over the next 4 to 6 weeks for the other vacancies to occur.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
just a reminder, it does take some time, just so council remembers, it does take some time to do promotions, not as much as it can for hirings, because obviously we have people on staff and we have tests, but just as a reminder, it's not that the next day we suddenly can necessarily promote those people. So if council does want to look at minimizing the exposure of the city to overtime, I would just ask you to consider that out of necessity, it is a process to do those promotions. Although admittedly not as long as it often takes to hire people new.
Mr. Fox?
Going back to your statement, as far as this is concerned, we're saying though that if we did pass this evening, that we would, with the Thanksgiving holiday come about, cut overtime. Is that correct?
That would be my, yeah. We will have somebody in these positions, regardless whether they're on overtime or promoted, but by the time Thanksgiving gets here, we probably won't have the promotion done. I'm looking at more like Christmas and New Year's.
So if we went into December 12th, we probably would be looking at paying from time to Christmas.
Yep, yep.
If,
No, like I said, I'm okay with you holding it for a couple weeks. I don't, you know, it's up to you guys. I'm just trying to let you know that there's a potential that we will fill some shifts with overtime between now and then.
Within the authorization, there's probably nothing buffer in that if we need another authorization. With the council increased the overtime a month or so ago. So that orders would probably cover the amount, but it would probably be close to that.
I make a motion for the promotion of 2 captains and 2 lieutenants. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say yes.
yes.
Yes. Those opposed?
No.
No. Roll call, please.
Mr. Probana?
Yes.
Mr. Razor?
No.
Mr. Rio?
Yes.
Mrs. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Louderman?
No.
Okay, promotions will proceed, Chief.
Thank you.
The authorizing the hiring of 4 firefighters. I believe we can hold that till,
I've got some information that may help make the decision. That's fine.
appreciate that. And since promotions were as required as needed, so,
There'll only be one right now anyway, so thank you for that.
okay. All right, I think that covers all of the business. Is there any old business coming before us? Disposition of ordinances and resolutions. Mr. Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like for the clerk to read ordinance 141 and give it a second reading.
An ordinance amending chapter 195, City of West entitled Income Tax, to create section 195.92 Automatic External Defibrillator, AED, and CPR Training Income Tax Credit, to provide an income tax credit to qualifying City of Stow taxpayers, and directing and authorizing the finance director to appropriate a sum not to exceed $25,000 to provide said credit in accordance with chapter 195 of the codified ordinance